Okay, so this is going to be part 2 of my video of rambling about the episodes of The Sopranos, and we're up to episode 6 now. I think this quote, I've just read this quote before I recorded this video, and I don't think I can do it justice by reading it out, so I'll let you read it out, or read it yourself, shall we say. Let's talk about this screenshot. This is from the famous FBI pin board, which we get a look at I think towards the end of the episode, where they're going through all the characters, the connections, personalities they've got in the mob. And what's interesting here is who is on each side of Junior: Jimmy Altieri and Ray Curto. Two rats, as we later find out. So I don't think this symbolises that Junior is a rat, does it? It symbolises that he's being surrounded by these dodgy people who he needs to keep an eye on desperately, as well as other people besides rats. Yeah. So if we look at the write-up, the consigliere, Mike is defined as this by the FBI at the end of the episode. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't... Because he's the only consigliere we know of in New Jersey, rather than... other than Sil, isn't he? Let's take a drink, take a swig. Yeah, not a soft drink, by the way. Anyway, yeah, Mikey and Sil, I think the only two consiglieres we know about in New Jersey, aren't they? I think, well, Sil is clearly better as a consigliere, isn't he? As he turns out, he survives for longer anyway. Is Sil the consigliere to Jackie, senior? I think he is, isn't he? And obviously you don't really know as much about old man DeMeo, who goes to jail a few years before all the series starts. Yeah. So what else we got? Establishing character moment. Johnny Sack, an underboss who excels at coming up with solutions to benefit everyone. This also showcases his skill in seemingly sympathising with both sides of a dispute, suggesting his truly duplicitous and shifty nature. Yeah, Ralphie and, well, particularly Paul, we find out about that later, don't they? Yeah, underboss. I'm sure I used to think that underboss and consigliere meant the same thing, but underboss is basically a more sort of like a vice president or a deputy president, isn't it? Or deputy leader, who I think is often more active than the boss, or does a lot of the boss's work, or everyday mundane stuff, kind of, isn't it? I'm not a huge expert, and we don't... I mean, the show doesn't kind of necessarily always make that clear anyway, but yeah, I think that's possibly roughly how it is. Karmic death. Oh yeah, the drug dealer, the local tailors kill the local... effectively killed a local tailor's grandson. Yeah, it's one of those things that Junior could do before he got busted. Yeah. Spotting the thread. This is the Malfi Tony thing. Tony and Dr. Jennifer Malfi both get instances of this during the first therapy scene. She gives him a speech suggestions that she's figured out why he's visiting her office. He's projecting all the problems from the women in his life onto her and using that as an outlet. He in turn wonders aloud why she took him on as a patient despite any other legitimate therapist refusing to talk to him. Yeah, that's something else we find out about later, is that he's on some kind of blacklist of most therapists, as you know, this is Tony Soprano, a mobster, don't ever talk to him. Yeah, I think so, isn't it? I think that comes in is it when it's one of the times where they separate, so to speak, isn't it? Yeah. Wicked culture. Vin is the cop, isn't he? Vin McCaindian insinuates that Malfi is so cultured that he only buys her meat from a fancy schmancy deli which has Italian in the name, but you can't find a fucking meatball in the place. Yeah, that's a good line. So yeah, this not exactly a top tier episode, but it's basically the introduction to the FBI, or I think their first appearance might have been at the funeral of Jackie, like in the previous episode. Was it no, it was the episode before the previous one, I think, wasn't it? Meadowland, yeah. But anyway, we get that great scene here, which is represented by this screenshot, effectively, where that's kind of the big introduction to the FBI, really. As you can see here, it goes into it here. You know, the waiters are actually private investigators for the FBI. Tiny cameras into their name tags, built into their name tags, yeah. So, episode 7, Down Neck. And this is where we get the flashback to the first ever flashback to the earlier days of Tony's life. Very well. I think the guy who plays Uncle Junior is very convincing, but the guy who plays Johnny Boy Soprano isn't so convincing as an actor. Yeah. And this is the whole AJ kind of, we get a lot of AJ characterisation in here about, obviously he's drinking here at the start of the episode, and then at the end we get the ADD diagnosis. Sort of like to AJ as college was to Meadow. Sort of the first big exploration of their characters. And this is where he learns that he's, or asks if he's in the or AJ asks Tony if he's in the mafia like Meadow did in college. See, Lady Macbeth. Livia continues to wrap Uncle Junior around her finger with a long game in mind. Tony even lampshades it, even if unintentionally, when he notes that Livia would have been the real gangster if she'd come after feminism and made real progress. Yeah, we do get a female gangster later on in the form of Lorraine Calypso, who doesn't last very long, actually. Like any other true Newarker of his age, Tony calls his local neighbourhood Down Neck. Yeah. I mean, is that like downtown but Down Neck, or is it like? I think it's some pun, isn't it? Like Newark, Down Neck, Newark, or something. Yeah. Mr. Sandman sequence. Tony's first flashback is backed by the uses of Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit and features plenty of 60s era signifiers. Yeah, I mean, at Newark in the 60s, that was when riots and whatnot took place. I don't think they happened at that point. I don't think we get much of them in this episode, do we? Or any. But yeah, in the film we get that. Yeah, there's more of it here. The leitmotif, yeah, leitmotif, whatever you pronounce it. Yeah, so this isn't one of those top tier episodes either, but you know, it's all, they're still in the process of establishing characters, basically, aren't they? Even the most basic ones, or especially the most basic ones. Talking of which, season 1, episode 8, The Legend of Tennessee Multisanti. So the quote, we didn't go over the quote in the previous one, did we? Although even the picture, which was from, hang on. Okay, let's go over it for completion. Mouthy, you think that everything happens is preordained. You don't think that human beings possess free will. Well, I don't think they do as such. No, I don't think they do, really. But Tony says, "How come I'm making freaking pots in Peru? You're born to this shit. You are what you are." Yeah, we are defined to a significant extent by our circumstances and environments. It really is the case, really, isn't it? Doesn't mean you shouldn't be personally. It doesn't mean you shouldn't consider personal responsibility or whatever. But yeah, and the screenshot is from it's from the flashback. Obviously, the young Tony, Johnny Boy, Janice. I think that is, isn't it? It's got to be Janice rather than Barbara, and Or is it? Yeah, well, it's one of those two, isn't it? And we get Livia in the background there, yeah. So, episode 8, Legend of Tennessee Multisanti. The quote is from Christopher. I don't know, Tony. It's like the regularness of life is too fucking hard for me. I don't know. That's a big theme of the show, isn't it? The fucking regularness of life. That's a big theme of the show. Which we kept. Yeah, that's what he's sort of doing, what I'm doing now. He's sort of just doing random shit on his laptop in the screenshot. That's good. Yeah, so this is sort of an establishing episode for Christopher. To a significant extent. This is where we get the line about Noah's Ark. Where's my ark, Paulie? You know who had an ark? Noah. Yeah. Oh, and this is the the episode where Richie LaPena tells his estranged wife, Dr. Malfi, that American culture is giving Italian Americans a bad name, pointing out Goodfellas as an example. Lorraine Bracco was in that film, while Richard Romanus was in another Martin Scorsese film, Mean Streets. Mean Streets, one of Scorsese's very first films, wasn't it? 1973. Yeah. What's his name was in that as well? David Proval, who plays Richie Aprile. He was also in that. As was Robert De Niro was in it, wasn't he? I think that was one of his early ones. I think, yeah. Obviously, Goodfellas as well. Yeah. So what I was going to say is that's a scene where that's a pretty iconic sort of scene about the degradation of Italian Americans. Conversation between Malfi and her ex-husband, yeah. Yeah, so, and if we go to back to the summary, something I wanted to note was, is this the episode where I thought it's, sorry, that's thrown me a bit there. So Tony comes back home and hears a knock on at the back door. When he answers, he finds an FBI agent named Phil Harris, who politely asks if he can come inside. Wow, I'm pretty sure his name is Dwight Harris. I don't recall. Is this another early instalment weirdness again? Yeah, I mean this is another big moment of the early kind of moment where the FBI's first visit to Tony's house kind of thing. Another establishing moment as it were as well. This is also the episode where Livia tells Junior that he's going to therapy. Tony's going to therapy. Yeah. But yeah, Phil Harris. Is there like there's no early instalment weirdness where it says that Harris is named Phil rather than Dwight, so I assume it. And I don't think it says it. I've looked at Harris's own character page on here. I don't think it says like that he was known as Phil in his first appearance. I haven't seen that anywhere else either, so I assume that's someone has made a mistake, in which case I'm almost obligated to correct it, actually, which I'm going to do. Yeah. So where are we? Named Phil Harris. I wonder if they're getting mixed up with Phil Leotardo. That's another enemy of Tony, as it were. Still in prison for another 5 years at this point. This is 99, and he doesn't come out until 04. So yeah, another 5 years to go till he gets out and Leotardo. But anyway, yeah. So Dwight Harris. Yeah. So, yeah, we've got to put. I don't think any of those reasons apply to it, do they? It's, character name mistake. So, unless I'm mistaken, Dwight Harris was never known as Phil. And there isn't an early instalment weirdness example to back it up on this page. Surely that's how you spell instalment, isn't it? I could have. Hang on. Oh, there, yeah, it isn't on the page anyway. But whatever. So, unless I'm mistaken, Dwight Harris was never known as Phil, and there isn't an early instalment weirdness example to back it up on this page. So yeah, we'll confirm that. Very simple edit, but quite an important little edit actually. It's Can't be allowing a mistake like that in the main summary of the episode, can we? This episode, yeah. Episode 9, Bocker. And the quote is simply, "I didn't hurt nobody, Tony Soprano." And we get a quick screenshot from their golf game, Tony and Junior's golf game, where, yeah, they're talking about certain issues, shall we say, issues that each question their masculinity. They're both having issues that kind of would have certain other people questioning their masculinity, shall we say. So Olivia Jr. and AJ visit the grave of Johnny Boy Soprano. Very rare sort of Olivia Jr. and AJ all together, actually, isn't it? One of the very few times, actually. And this is obviously the Coach Hauser, besides all the junior stuff with, is it Bobby? Yes, Bobby, female, spout of an eye, his girlfriend or whatever. This is also the Coach Hauser episode, which is very difficult subject matter. I don't hear this episode come up a lot. I think because of that reason. It's sort of glossed over a little bit, even for a season 1 episode, which a lot of episodes are glossed over because the series is just kind of getting on its feet and stuff. Character development. Despite his villainous tendencies, Tony's swayed by Artie to publicly shame Hauser and have him arrested as opposed to killing the man outright. At the end of the episode, he drunkenly tells Carmela that he didn't hurt anyone this time, which is the big sort of memorable moment of this episode. At the ending, as it's quoted, it's even quoted up at the top with the quote from Tony. So Godfather reference, of course. Public Enemy reference as well. That might, with the pie. That might be the first. That's surely got to be the first reference to this in the series, the Public Enemy 1931, which would be reference to Kane, or not just reference. It would actually, clips of it would actually be seen in the show later on. Wham line. This is just the first example. These are the first examples of wham lines. Coach Hauser and Junior teaching Tony how to play baseball. I mean, I guess they're important lines, certainly, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure they quite meet the criteria for wham line, but whatever. More than one in the same episode. The first one radically alters the art within the episode itself in an instant. Wow. Okay. Within the context of this episode, I guess. I mean, like I said, it's a fairly forgotten sort of episode to an extent. The second kicks off the third act of the first season. Wow. Taught him out. That does connect to the first episode, doesn't it? So what else? Anything else we could comment on? Actually pretty funny. Tony can't help laughing when Carmela tells him about Corrado, Uncle Junior giving head to Bobby. Yeah, that's quite a funny. That's a funny moment actually. One of the great early kind of dinner scene moments, yeah. And he can't stop with several jokes of his own, to the point that Carmela herself tries to get him to stop. Amoral attorney Harold Malvoyne, who manages Junior's legal interests and allows him to conduct mob business in his office. Yeah, I don't think very similar to Neil Mink, who's Tony's lawyer, who doesn't show off a thing until next season. Yeah, which is kind of. I guess he didn't. I guess that shows that he's now the boss, Tony, doesn't it? Because when by the second season he was undisputedly the boss, and the boss has more reason to be talking to his attorney, I guess. Yeah. So yeah. Okay, so season 1, episode 10, a hit is a hit, a fan favourite. So the quote is, sometimes I think the only thing separating the American business from the mobs is fucking whacking somebody. Yeah, that is pretty much it, isn't it? Although even that doesn't, it doesn't, in many cases, even it has that in common in a lot of cases, doesn't it, with a lot of other businesses, I would say. Dr. Bruce Cusimano. Yeah, it's got to be Coos' one of his best lines, isn't it? So we get the screenshot which sort of sums up the episode, the main plot of the episode, which is Adriana and Christopher getting into show business, or getting close to show business, really. Which are not, I mean, again, not episodes that are generally appreciated by the fans. We get a few more of them over the course of the series. Yeah, a lot of Hesh in this episode as well. Sort of interesting, his connection, the whole history of African Americans and Jewish folks in show business, and that's sort of the most kind of interesting, but I guess people see it as kind of out of place in a mob show, I guess, but saw Star Wars 27 times. Massive genius expresses his admiration for the Cosa Nostra by saying he'd watched The Godfather like 200 times. That's funny. Yeah. Shout outs to Little C, the Donnie Brasco, which I mentioned in my previous episode. Hoodlum and Uncle Ben, formerly known as Uncle Ben, now known as Ben's Original, I think. Ben's Originals or something, yeah. So, what happened to the mouse? One massive genius threatens to sue Hesh for keeping the royalties from his artists, and Hesh countering that genius used an unauthorised sample to create said artist's song. The matter is never brought up again, and genius never appears for the rest of the series. Yeah. And they could have brought him back, but quite a lot of random first. I think there's a few first season characters who appear like a lot later on in one sense or another, like Mikey Palmise turns up in a dream in like season 5, I think. Yeah. I guess they knew the fans didn't really give a shit about this, but which is a shame. I mean, it's not. There's, as I said, there's a lot to be said for the exploration of the whole issues in this episode. But yeah. Oh, and isn't there? There's also the line from Christopher, which should be under. Yeah, here. Yeah, this line. Chris in particular is tempting fate by whining about how he's being made to wait because he doesn't have a welfare check like the black paint patrons. Yeah, that's a very dubious attitude he's got, isn't it? So yeah, that's over half an hour again. That's another 5 episodes I've got through, and I think I'll leave it there because the next episode and the last 3 of the season are all pretty big ones. And yeah, I think they'll take up half an hour in themselves. So just thinking, if I do about an average of 5 episodes, this will be like this will be like 86, so 20, 19, 80, so I'd say about 18 episodes, yeah. Or probably a bit more, because I won't necessarily do as many as 5 in each, but yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah, more or less what I want to say for that, for these 5 episodes. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.